bonjour à tous. Thank you for joining us. My name is Nick Boisvert, and I will be your moderator. Before we begin, please note that this press conference includes simultaneous and sign language interpretation services. It is available either in full French or in full English. If you're watching live, you can find our stream in each language on YouTube. Simply search City of Ottawa or Ville d'Ottawa. A note to media outlets joining us on Zoom. If you would like audio interpretation, click the interpretation globe icon in the bottom menu, then select your preferred language. You can ask your questions in the language of your choice. Today, we will be hearing remarks from Renee Amilcar, General Manager, Transit Services Department, available to answer questions from the media. We also have Matt Peters, Acting Director, Engineering Services, Joel Lemieux, Acting Director, Transit Service Delivery and Rail Operations, Nicolas Truchon, Chief Executive Officer, Rideau Transit Group, and Enrique Martinez Asensio, General Manager, Rideau Transit Maintenance. At this time, I would like to invite Renee Amilcar, General Manager, Transit Services, to say a few words.
Merci beaucoup, Nick. Good afternoon and thank you for joining us today. Bon après-midi à vous tous et surtout un gros merci de continuer de nous suivre.
Thank you very much for following us through our media veil today.
I'd like to provide a further update on where we are as we work towards our goal of restoring a safe and reliable service for customers on the entire line. I would also like to acknowledge that 2 years ago today, our LRT system experienced its first derailment. Since that time, we have been working on the symptoms of the disease impacting our system. We are now making real progress and are treating the underlying illness. Il y a 2 ans, jour pour jour,
2 years ago, day for day,
nous voilà aujourd'hui avec un plan
we were having some issues with our system.
permanent
Right now, we have a solution, a permanent solution.
sur l'atténuation des symptômes.
We're working not only on the symptoms, but also on treating the underlying issue.
Alstom is redesigning the wheel hub assembly, and this will be the ultimate solution to the bearing problem. In the interim, we were pleased to share some good news yesterday. RTG began repositioning the restraining rails last Thursday, August 3rd. Over the long weekend, they were able to complete all the locations between Today's Pasteur and Ottawa stations. This has allowed us to resume service in this section of the corridor. Single car trains are running every 5 minutes. So far, we're happy with how the partial service is running, and it's accommodating all the customers on the system. In peak periods, the Transit Operations Control Center can launch an additional train to help accommodate customers if required. Mayor Sutcliffe, Chair Gower, and myself were at 5 a.m. this morning to ride the train and greet customers. I encourage customers traveling between Today's Pasteur and Ottawa stations to use the old train as it is safe and efficient. Les usagers dans l'Ouest sont invités à utiliser
On the west side, we want you to actually use the system between Turney Pasture and Ottawa U.
et surtout,
This is much more comfortable
we
and
continue
safe.
to offer Aron Express and Aron Para with no changes. While we are happy to welcome customers back to part of Line 1, we know our job is not done. The combined team at RTG, Alstom, and OC Transpo continue to work around the clock to be able to restore service across the full line. Repositioning the restraining rails to prevent contact between the wheel and the rail in the east end of the line is the only remaining requirement of the safety note. As you will recall, implementing the safety note from RTG and Alstom is key to ensuring the safe operations of Line 1. RTG is working to adjust the restraining rails at 16 locations across the line. So far, they have completed 10 locations. In parallel to this work, RTG is replacing the wheel hub assemblies of the light rail vehicles. There are now 24 trains ready for service. Our team is still finalizing the plan for when full service safely resumes. Right now, we anticipate operating 11 single car trains on the full line during the morning peak period and 13 single car trains in the afternoon peak. 9 single trains will run during the remainder of the day. This will accommodate current customer demand without the need for errand service. Je prends le temps pour vous dire que, pour l'instant, notre
Right
plan
now, our plan for August 14 is to have 11 trains during peak hours, during the morning peak, and 13 single cars in the afternoon peak. 9 single car trains will run during the remainder of the time.
It also allows us to sustainably manage fleet availability over the long term. We are still examining the service plan for September and will provide further updates when it is final. We continue to expect to be able to safely resume service on the entire line on Monday, August 14th. We will provide updates on the timing. I'm confident, based on the work done by the combined teams at RTG, Alstom, and aussi Transpo, with oversight by TRA, that we have a solid plan to restore full rail service that is safe, reliable, and sustainable. I also understand that councillors have been closely following this issue and have questions. We will hold an information session for councillors tomorrow from 2:30 to 4 p.m. to review this event, the work completed, and the next steps. Media will also be invited. To our customers, I would like to say that we are making real progress toward our goal of restoring a safe and reliable service for you. Your patience over the next few days while we complete this work is greatly appreciated by our team. Now, I would like to invite you some questions, if you may have.
Thank you, Renee. Each media agency will now be invited to ask their questions. You may ask one question with one follow-up. We'll start today with Elise Skura at CBC Ottawa.
Thanks very much. We're hearing from a lot of riders that they've kind of changed their habits because of the unreliability of the system. Maybe they're driving now. Some people find that the R1 bus is better. What would you say to those people to convince them that they should return to the O train?
Thank you very much. So the O train, it's perfect to transport mass people. And it's there is no traffic with the O train for sure. And I can understand that the need to be convinced. But I think by doing what we have done this morning, by offer at least a partial service and full service will resume next Monday, I'm sure they will appreciate that. And the traffic will come back. You know, traffic is a little bit slow this week. But please come back and try us. Give us again a chance.
And this is not my follow-up, but could you also say that in French? Thank you.
Donc, le train est sécuritaire, donc prenez-le.
The train is safe right now, so I would like to ask our riders to come back on the O train service even though you change your habits. The R1 system is still working, but we know that right now traffic will increase in the next few weeks and you will be very happy to have the O train service. That's the reason why we worked to offer you a partial service as of today. And as of next Monday, the service will be completed.
Thank you very much. Yeah, my follow-up is about kind of the extension, the east-west extension that's being worked on for stage 2. We know that the curves have been a problem, and looking at the rails, from a layman, it seems like some of these curves are kind of just as tight as we're seeing in the current east end of the system. So what's being done to ensure that we're not going to have the same problems again on these tight curves?
Matt?
Thank you for the question. And yes, so we are working closely with our rail construction team on ensuring that anything that's implemented here on the Line 1 system is transferred over to the Line 2 system as part of that. So looking at the restraining rail and also working towards the top of rail lubrication as well, as that progresses with our current maintainer and RTG.
And does that delay the length of time that it's going to take to get the system up and running?
No.
Thanks.
Thank you, Elise. We'll go next to Ben Andrews at CBC Radio.
Hi there. So we had 5 single car trains running today, and for the rest of August, that'll be 11 or 13 in the afternoon. Why the single cars, and why only a portion of the fleet that's available?
Thank you for the question. So the single car, it's because with the new regime in place, which consists to change axles every 60,000 kilometers, and because we're still working on those many LRVs, so to be able to constantly maintain a level of service, we need to be able to do that. And because as well, the ridership is not here. So we know that on a train, we are at 43% of pre-pandemic. So that means that we can easily give the same level of service with less trains. So that's why we want to keep the headway so we can reduce the capacity.
Okay, thank you. Would you be able to repeat that in French as well?
Alors, les trains que nous roulons présentement
Right now, we have single car trains on the rails. We understand that Alstom has a new inspection system. We have to change the axles every 60,000 kilometers. So this is a lot of pressure on the maintenance team. We want to make sure that we're maintaining the same level of service. We have to manage our single cars. Right now, we are at 43% of the pre-pandemic ridership. So we do have enough trains right now to ensure the service and a good experience for the end user.
Question: what ridership did you get today on the LRT, and how did it compare to the R1 bus service?
Joel, please.
So we don't have any hard numbers to share, but from our observations, the R1 service in the areas where the train was running had light use. Largely, it was people that were traveling through beyond the east end of the line. The R1 service traveling from the east end was a little lighter than usual today because coming out of a holiday weekend, less ridership today overall. But we were seeing average about 20, 30 people on the buses at Herdman on the full R1. The express ones were a little bit heavier, peaking out at 70 on one bus, but we didn't have any overloads, and we added 3 supplemental trips to assist our customers there.
Thank you, Ben.
In terms of the light rail, we never saw more than perhaps about 50 people on the platform at any one time. So the train was traveling mostly at seated loads during AM peak, which was perfect for us.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Leah Larocque at CTV Ottawa.
Hello. So I'm just going to pick up on a question that was just asked about changing habits. And it seems that just being on the ground today, speaking to a lot of people, they just don't trust the train anymore. Even if R1 is taking longer, they're just not going to go on the bus. On the train. So just how concerned are you that pre-pandemic, compared to our pre-pandemic levels, we're only at 42, and now people aren't coming back? How concerning is this that people just are not getting back on the train?
I'm confident they will come back, and I rely on you as well to help me because, if you explain what we have done, I think that will be very helpful. And that said, I think a good service, a reliable service will attract people for sure, and they will come back. I'm confident. This is our responsibility to make sure that we assure a good service, and they will come back.
Okay. How confident are you that repositioning these restraining rails in these 16 locations, and then slowing the trains on the curve is going to work in the short term as we work towards a long-term solution.
Enrique, please.
Yeah, the repositioning of the restraining rail is ensuring that there is no contact between the wheel and the restraining rail, which is the new requirement from the rolling stock manufacturer. So we are completely confident that we can meet that requirement. So that problem is going to be eliminated. Regarding the speed restrictions, just a reminder, the only speed restriction that is new because of this process is at Rideau station. Has a few impact in the operation because of the braking process of the train. The place where this speed restriction is established is very close to the station, so the speed is already very low in the train and has no operational impact.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go next to Blair Crawford at the Ottawa Citizen.
Hi there. This is from Dan Amilcar. You said that you're out at the platforms this morning meeting people. I'm just wondering if you could give us a sense of what their response was to you about the train service.
Thank you for the question. So I was the first person because, I have said that many times that I was going to be the first person. So at 5 o'clock, I was on the train and I saw one customer and I want to say hi to him and to thank him for sure to be with us. And he was very happy that the train was in function. After that, I went back at home, and I know that a lot of my colleagues went, and people were very surprised to see that the train was running, and they were very, very happy.
Early morning for you, eh? A second question, if I can ask, I know that the first, because there's the Trillium line approaching completion too, and I know that the first week of August was critical. There were deadlines that had to be met by the 1st of August to ensure that that was on track for, I guess, September testing. Can you tell us if the O train is, or the Trillium line is where it's supposed to be right now?
August 29, we'll have a LRT subcommittee and we'll give you all the follow-up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Blair. On va maintenant à Rebecca Kwan avec Radio-Canada.
Rebecca Kwan, Radio-Canada. Hello. I would like to come back to the derailment. Do you have more information about the cause of the derailment 2 years ago? Thank you for the question. The first derailment that happened 2 years ago was linked to a bearing issue. We've made many tests. We received many reports, TRA, RTG, RTM, OC Transpo, Alstom, everyone. We understand that the external forces on the train is increasing the components fatigue. And this is why we see a premature degradation of the bearings as such. Right now, like we said earlier, we've been working on the symptoms. We were trying to mitigate the bearing issue, trying to understand when we have a loose bearing. But nowadays, we're looking at reducing the external force that's causing the component fatigue. So we want to avoid any type of contact between the restraining rail and the wheel. We understand that there was a continuous contact, there is a fatigue. The vehicle was not built for that. This is the reason why we observe a fatigue of the different components. We also will add some oil on the rails. This will reduce friction. And we're very happy to say that Alstom will be looking at a new axle design and hub. So we're working on 2 fronts. We want to reduce the external forces, and we want to increase the capacity of the vehicle in face of these extra forces. Question? You said that you're reaching a 43% level of ridership, pre-pandemic ridership. What will you do? What is your strategy to raise the number of riders? Are you concerned about that? Answer: we would love to have the federal employees back to work downtown. We love them. We are continuing our campaign. And actually, we were really doing well with our transit campaign. We do believe that it will be slow right now. In Montreal, they think that it will take up to 10 years before we reach our pre-pandemic levels. But Ottawa is very peculiar. We have to live with our reality, but we're lucky here in Ottawa. We will have a very nice system ready to receive a lot of riders. Thank you so much.
We do have time for a few more questions today, so if you can just use the raise hand button, and we'll start coming to you when we see some hands. Elise Skura at CBC.
Hi, yes, sorry, this is a technical question. I'm just wondering if the city has made any changes to the main rails themselves, any gauge widening at the curves, either on the part that's already open or with the extension for future rail usage.
Can you repeat your question, please?
Oh, yes, sorry. So I know that there's been a change with the restraining rails themselves, but I wondered if there had been any gauge widening, like widening of the space between the main rails because of, potential wheel slip at the curves.
Matt, can you answer that one, please?
Yeah, I can start, Renee. So there's a tolerance for the track gauge across the alignment that is following the maintenance manual for the track. But I will have to defer to Enrique if they've made any adjustments to that as part of this work, but there is a tolerance they have to be within.
Thank you, Elise and Matt. Well, we perform a lot of measurements in the track to ensure that all the alignment is within the tolerance parameters. In some points, we did a small corrections, but not focusing in widening the gauge. This is not a normal practice in the sector. The normal practice is to keep the gauge within the tolerance, which is nominal value plus 10 millimeters. And this is basically the work, to take measurements, confirm that all the alignment was within the parameters, and if necessary, a few corrections in small points, which is normal. The movement of the truck is relatively normal when the temperature changes, and with the high temperatures in the summer, it's a very normal process to see small movements, but not relevant.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll go back to Leah Larocque now at CTV.
Hello. When the system resumes from point to point, is that reduced speed going to be permanent in the tunnel as well as around some of those curves, even after the work has been done? Is the train still going to go at reduced speed?
Enrique, please.
Okay. Well, at this moment, we have a specific speed restriction in Rideau, as I explained previously, but this is going to disappear in the coming days, probably by mid next week. We need to confirm. The other speed restrictions that were introduced 1 year ago, because after the incident, that restrictions are going to remain at least in the medium term.
But in the track in Rideau, I think it's 15 kilometers an hour. Is that going to be permanent?
No. That one is the temporary, because we are finalizing some specific work in that section. And while this work is ongoing, we need to establish this speed restriction, because basically what we are doing in that section is we have removed the restraining rail and the brackets that hold the restraining rail. We are modifying the geometry of the brackets. The plan is to install back in a few days. So while this process is taking place, our maintenance procedures require to establish a speed restriction 15 kilometers per hour, but it just is a additional precaution. It's nothing relevant. So in the coming days, we are going to replace the brackets and the restraining rail, and the speed restriction is going to disappear. Anyway, just highlight again that this section is very, very close to the station. So when the train arrives to that section, is in the braking process, approaching to the stopping point, which means that the speed restriction is not having a real impact in the operation, because the speed of the trains are already very, very low and very close to these 15 kilometers per hour. So the impact is almost negligible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Et pour la dernière question, on va retourner à Rebecca.
Last question, Rebecca Kwan, Radio-Canada. Clarification. You said that the train service will start again on August 14. You will suspend the R1 bus service? Answer. No, we will keep this R1 service for at least one day, making sure that the clients know what to do. But we will keep you informed as we are changing plans. Follow-up question? When you're talking about the 43% ridership, the pre-pandemic ridership, what time are you referring to? We're talking about the beginning of the year, January 2023. But this is really 43% of the ridership for the period of 2023.
For joining us. That's all the time that we have for today. We wish you a pleasant afternoon. Take care.